We've been taught that the process of seeing is when light clusters, called photons, travel from an object to the eye and pass through the eye where they are refracted and focused on the retina at the back of the eye. Here, these light rays are turned into electrical signals and then transmitted by neurons to the center of vision at the back of the brain. We now know that the opposite is true, that the act of seeing actually takes place in this center in the brain. All the images we view in our lives and all the events we experience are actually experienced in this tiny and dark place. Both the film you are now watching and the boundless landscape you see when you gaze at the horizon actually fit into this place of a few cubic centimeters. These physical facts make us come to an indisputable conclusion. Everything we see, touch, hear, and perceive as matter is only electrical signals in our brain. For instance, we see a bird in the external world. In reality, this bird is not in the external world, but in our brain. The bird we see is in fact the electrical signals in our brain. Likewise, the sounds we hear from the bird are also in our brain. Put simply, the shape and sound of the bird are nothing but the brain's interpretation of electrical signals. This is also true when it comes to distance. Someone who watches the stars in the sky assumes they are millions of light years away from him. Yet, the stars are actually inside him, in the center of vision of his brain. While you are watching this film, the truth is that you are not inside the room that you assume yourself to be. On the contrary, the room is inside you. When you see your body, you think you are inside of it. But remember that your body is an image formed inside your brain as well. To imagine matter to have an existence outside the mind is indeed a deception. The perceptions we observe may well be coming from an artificial source. We can understand this better with an example. Let's imagine that we could take our brain out of our body and keep it alive in a glass box. Then let's get a computer filled with information related to a particular setting, such as image, sound, and smell. We'll connect this computer to the brain with electrodes and send the pre-recorded data to the brain. As our brain receives these signals, it will see and live the setting that the computer is transmitting. We could also send signals to the brain from this computer about our own image. For example, we could send the electrical information, such as the sight, hearing, and touch, that we would experience while sitting at a desk. Our brain would perceive that we were a businessman sitting in his office. This imaginary world would continue as long as the information kept coming from the computer, and we would never realize that we were actually a brain sitting in a glass box. It is indeed very easy for us to be deceived into believing that what we are perceiving is real even though it has no material basis.
We have been conditioned since birth to believe that what we see out there is real, an independent, objective reality that has a life of its own. And our role is limited to observing it and perceiving it and interacting with it. Not so, according to the latest scientific research. We are projecting our reality first and then perceiving it coming back to us. The bird first arrives in our brain as wave frequencies downloaded from the field. The brain then translates those wave frequencies into a hologram of the bird by collapsing the wave function. That hologram is then projected out there so that the bird appears to be real. And then the bird comes back to us through our physical perceptions.